Hey, this is Real Talk. Today we look at personality. What is personality? And when we say about personality, we don't mean somebody doesn't have a personality. That's a term that's used or a phrase that's used in popular culture. What we're talking about personality, we're talking about according to the dictionary definition. There's a number of definitions, but they all seem to have one thing in common. They speak about the characteristics or the qualities that an individual has that determines what their personality type is or their personality. Now, there are a number of personality models. In a previous episode, we spoke about individuals like Sigmund Freud, we spoke about Carl Rogers, we spoke about Dr. Albert Ellis, three of the masters, the past masters of counseling, psychotherapy, psychology. And they all had their own models of psychology related to human personality. Then you have another model, which I find most fascinating. It's called the Enneagram, but only because of time, we're not going to deal with the Enneagram. What we're going to deal with is the model of psychology that was dealt with by an individual called Carl Jung. Way back in 1971, he put a paper together in which he talked about the different types of personalities or personality types. Now, he spoke about, Dr. Rogers spoke about, first of all, the individual that is an extrovert. And the extrovert, as we know, is a person that is more external, or their contact, their interaction is mainly dealt with in terms of the external world. They put their personality out there, so to speak, and that is how they vibe with the world. Whereas the introvert is an individual who lives much in their head, you could say, or much of their interaction is in terms of their insight and their thought processes. Then you also have individuals who are sensing people who go by their senses, what they've perceived, they've heard, they've seen, and this leads them to make decisions, or this influences how they go about their behavior, or influences their behavior, how they go about things. Then you have those people who deal with their intuition. Again, it's more of an internal thing that, depending on the thought and the feeling that they have inside, this is what influences their behavior. You have people who are thinkers and people who are feelers. Oftentimes, they say that men tend to be thinkers and women tend to be feelers. If you ask a man a question, he'll say, let me think about it, I'll get back to you. Whereas when you ask a woman a question and they're not sure, they may say, let me see how I feel and then I'll speak to you later. But that is maybe possibly a stereotype. But that is what many people say in terms of a common trait amongst male and female. You also have the type of personality that are those that use things to, let's say, use their minds. They're more judging, and they are those that are more perceiving. But again, this is seen as a kind of fourth aspect of the personality model of Carl Jung, that one of his students actually added on this fourth aspect. So within the personality types, there are what is known as analysts. Those people that use the thought process to come to their decisions, and it's a combination of the introvert, extrovert, sensing and intuition, thinking and feeling. There can be a combination of variants that bring about the analysts. Hence, there's four types of analysts. Then you have what is known as the diplomats. Again, it's the same four principles of introvert, extrovert, thinkers and feelers. These combinations can influence the diplomats, and hence you have four types of diplomats. Then you have the sentinels. Again, same principle at work. And finally, you have those that are known as the entrepreneurs, those that deal with the world in a certain way, but they are influenced by their perceptions or their judgments. And there's a combination of all. So people can be from different personality types and at the same time share similar qualities in certain spheres. Now, what's interesting is that ultimately, the strongest argument is that human beings have free will. But do we have entire free will? Or do we not have any free will and we live in a more, let's say, deterministic universe where external stimuli influences all our behavior? Or is it just internally we come about our behaviors and we come about our actions, and the influence is totally from inside? There's arguments on both sides of the fence, but One of the there was a study that came out recently that was quite interesting. It was saying that in America, amongst certain populations, or let's say certain communities, amongst African Americans in certain parts of the United States, young African American men in particular, school age, there was a strong correlation between those who did poorly, or the statistics, let's say the statistics of those who dropped out of school or did poor academic achievement or no academic achievement, and a correlation later years between how much criminal rates or prison rates. So it's put in a nutshell, it was saying that people who build prisons were able to determine how much prison space they should make clear or build for a particular generation based on academic attainment. Again, that raises some very, very interesting social questions and some very interesting ethical questions, because again, we're informed about personality type, we're informed about human free will, we're informed about how human beings are influenced by their environment, but the ethical question arises: should these companies that are building prisons invest in education so that they are able to curtail this group of people who have fallen out of favor with education to avoid ending up in the prison system? Or is it just that we live in a capitalist system and people are to basically provide a service if there is a need? But ultimately, psychologists deal with very, very complex issues when it comes to the human mind, the human personality, human behavior. So it's difficult to forecast or predict 100%. However, when dealing with certain personality types, if you have a grip or a handle on a personality type, then it will be much easier on how to address or deal with individuals and put in business situations, put in educational situations, whether somebody is, for example, a kinetic learner, whether they learn audially much easier, whether they're more of a visual learner. These are the type of things that should be taken into consideration if you're providing education for young people, or if you are trying to provide business opportunity and you are trying to execute a particular program or particular package, dealing with individual. If you tailor your knowledge to the individual, it can bring about influence or bring about a positive project. But ultimately, we live in a world where it's a combination, I would argue, between free will and between being influenced by the external world. So neither compelled by the external stimuli or independently running without no influence, because we influence each other in social situations. Human beings influence each other as part of groups. We're not just individuals. We're part of families. We're part of organizations, whether they are religious organizations, whether they're part of a school, whether they are part of a workplace, whether they're part of a social organization. And we influence the group and the group influences us. But personalities influence each other and we learn from each other. Everybody as an individual is unique. Even identical twins are unique in terms of their personality, in terms of their character. One of the things that attracted me to become a student of psychology is to understand what is the makeup, what are the characteristics, what are the ingredients that go into making us as human beings. And one of the things that is most fascinating about psychology is really coming to terms and coming to grips with what makes people tick. It has been a pleasure spending this short time with you for another edition of Real Talk. Hope to see you next time.